Okay, so now that you understand masks, there might be some temptation to do layouts like this, like on a classic postcard, using masks. And you certainly could do that. You could drop photos in, you could crop them, and that's fine. But there is an easier way to do that in Photoshop. So it's going to involve the grid system, which is also important to note. And grids work a little bit like they did in Illustrator, if you're familiar with that. First, to show the grid and adjust it. So if I hit Command apostrophe, you can see I now have the grid. Now, this is pretty small little squares, okay, that we can snap to, and we can make things fit just so and make them equidistant, which is great. But let's say we wanted to adjust it. Let's say we wanted these to be twice as big or 4 times as big. How do I do that? Well, I can go to File, just kidding, Photoshop, Settings, and I can go down to Guides, Grid, and Slices. And you can see that kind of in this craziness, down here it says grid line every. Now you might have something different here. It might even be a different unit of measure depending on the size of your document. But I'm going to make this 50 pixels with 1 subdivision. Okay, so these are going to look bigger and chunkier than our sample, which is fine. It's just going to make it a little bit easier. Now, the trick here is I want to make frames that are going to be equidistant, and it would be great if I could make those frames flexible so that I could stick anything I wanted in any of those frames. And there's a way to do that. All right, up here, we have the frame tool. If I click the frame tool, notice that they don't have to be rectangular frames. You could have all sorts of fun shapes, and you can put strokes on things. Okay, but I'm going to go with just sort of the simple frame, kind of a classic here. And you can see that if I were to draw right now, it's not snapping to our grid. So showing the grid doesn't mean you're snapping to it. So to make it snap, the shortcut's not the same as it is in Illustrator as it is in Photoshop. So if it can, gets a little confusing, you can go to View. You want to turn Snap on, all right? That's Command Shift colon or semicolon, okay? And yeah, it's colon, okay. And then I would go to View, Snap to, and you want to make sure that it's snapping to the grid, okay? Otherwise, it's not going to know what you're trying to snap to. Okay, so snap is on, snap to grid is on, and now when I drag with that frame tool, notice that it jumps to those different squares, right? Helpful. Okay, so if I were to drag a box like that, let's say we drag a box like this, and maybe another one down here, we've got 3 nice little frames. And you can see that over here, my layers panel, I have 3 frames. And what I can do is select any one of them, and I can go to where it says properties, and I can insert an image that will fit perfectly inside of that frame. So with this download, there was a zip file that included a few photos for you to pick from. So you can go to where it says place from local disk, right? So if you're on the top of that menu, you might go down a few, place on local disk embedded. This is probably the safest option. If you do select linked, if you move any of the files from their folders or locations on your drive, it's going to end up making these blank again. So we want to place it from our local drive and embed it. And here's that folder we downloaded. So if I did want, let's say, the surfing group, I just hit the spacebar there to preview. You can see that when I place it in there, it fits just perfectly, right? And in my layers panel, it's showing exactly what it cropped it to, right? Which is great. Okay, so we didn't see any funky white edges, things like that. Now you could go in there and you could scale things up, right? And you could see that the frame stays where it is. And we always want to hold down Shift, right? When we're scaling photos or type, okay? But notice it is cropping it to that frame. And we could just do the same thing for the other 2. So I could select this one, place from local disk, right? And we could say maybe that's going to be, sure, maybe we'll do the coastline at the top this time. Great. And you can see again, we might scale that holding down Shift. And we've got one more. If I select that frame, place from local disk, and we could say we want that to be our sunset, right? And we've got a really nice sort of clean layout, equidistant borders, right? Super nice, clean design. Okay, so there you have it, the frame tools.